So, we wrote Angular for Dart. There we go. So we've been working on it since March of last year, which is when we created the GitHub repo and have been steadily committing ever since then. But who is we? So I counted last night, and we have 27 GitHub contributors, and which is a small number, but it fits in the corner of our slides. So that's a good thing. First, it was started, and most of the work has been done by the Angular core team, but we've had tremendous help from the Dart team, as well as an internal team at Google, codenamed Green Tea, and I'll talk about them more in depth in a moment. Finally, I'm continuing to be amazed at how the community has sprouted up around has sprouted up around this project. That there's blog posts and some really great talks on the web now, as well as PRs that just keep coming in, which is really cool. So this is not going to be a talk about Dart. There are plenty of good intro to Dart talks, and I didn't really have the time to go in and explain the language that you can go to YouTube and check out the talks that the Dart team has there. But in one slide. So the Dart tagline is scalable web engineering, and what does that actually mean? Well, one thing that it means is that there's real built-in tool support, and when you're building large apps, that's really exciting, because building a large scalable web app that you're going to maintain for many years is more than just writing code. It's also developing a lot of process and being able to write tools, analyzers, extractors is really powerful. Also, from that you get great IDE support, which is exciting. The other thing that Dart is it's easy to pick up. So the Dart team has designed the language to have as few surprises as possible. So all of your symbols are lexically scoped, and you don't have surprises with closures anymore. Jeff, I'm going to need you again. And so you can have a engineer come in and join your team and be really productive right away, and so that's something that's really exciting. And one company that is really excited about this is Google, and specifically the teams that are writing large web apps at Google are really liking Dart, because they have a lot of problems with scaling their app, deploying their apps, and how do you manage millions of lines of code. And Dart, which is a language and an ecosystem that is trying to solve those problems is an excellent fit for these large, for these teams building large web apps. And so let's talk about one of the teams. The green tea team. Now this is really where the story of AngularDart starts. So this team is building a Salesforce automation tool, which means there's a lot of data, there's a lot of lists, a lot of tables, and they have 12 engineers, and so they're building this massive app. And they looked around and said, we really love Dart. We're going to build our app in Dart. And this was again back 9 months ago and we said, hey, let's use this opportunity to build AngularDart as well. And so we got the opportunity to work with this amazing team and really sit with them and say, how can we make Angular better to solve your problems and fit the development cycle that you have. And so let's talk about what AngularDart and some of the features there. And so you may have heard about AngularDart and that we're porting Angular to Dart, which isn't really true. So we started that certainly we have a lot of common philosophy and common features, but it's really more than a port. Especially as we got into the coding, we started to be able to use features that Dart gives us, and they're actually a really good fit for Angular. But it is Angular first. You can see in the name here we have Angular as first. You have the same expressions and the same standard directives that you know and love from JavaScript. That as I guess the first bit of AngularDart that we ported over was the parser, and we did that by taking our entire parser test suite and moving it to Dart, and then building a parser that passes everything. So it's the same in both Dart and JavaScript. So this is a snippet from a template, and it's actually from the AngularDart demo, but you can see here that you have all of the same things from AngularJS. So the ng repeat is there, as well as ng class, which will add classes to your element, and then the ng model, which sets up the two-way binding between the checkbox. And so if you know AngularJS, then you can take all of the HTML that you've crafted, and it should map very nicely to the AngularDart. But there's also a number of really great ideas that we got from Dart, and we were able to make the entire system better. And so I'll talk about a few of these. The first is types, and if you heard Vojta's talk yesterday, where he introduced new dependency injector that was using ES6 types. We've been doing the same thing in Dart. So here's a Dart class, and you have a constructor that's just a method that's named the same as a class, which is what you would expect. And you can see that it's taking three things, and they're typed, so you know what they are. There's no confusion that the ELT is an element. In fact, it's coming from the DOM namespace, and we can use this in our dependency injector to inject using types instead of names, which means that there's no longer any collisions in the dependency injector. And then the other cool thing is of course you can use WebStorm's Control B to jump to any of these definitions, which I love. Moving on from that, the other great thing that we're using in Dart is annotations. And so you can add a class annotation or a field annotation to your code, and then either look at that at compile time or reflectively at runtime. And so we're using this to declare directives, and this is a example of a directive in AngularDart, and we've really completely rewritten the way that you create these compared to AngularJS. And so this is the standard ng-show, that it takes an expression and it will add a CSS class to your element to show it, and that, or if the expression isn't true, it's going to hide it. And you can see in the annotation that we have that we say this is going to be created on all elements that have an ng-show attribute. And then the second thing in the annotation here is an attribute map, which is a really nice API, and what it's saying is that it's asking Angular to map the ng-show attribute on your element to the show class field. And so this means that when you're writing directives, you no longer need to say scope.$watch, and that I think is really exciting. In fact, this directive doesn't directly talk to the scope at all. So as you're coding it, you don't really need to worry about scope.watch, scope.apply, or any of those difficult concepts from JavaScript. So let's look at the rest of this class, because it didn't quite fit on one slide. So now I've hidden the annotation, and you can see this is the complete implementation for the ng-show, and another, I guess, a nice shortcut that Dart gives you is you have these constructors, and you'll notice here that the constructor takes a this, and this is really the only place where you actually have to use the this keyword in Dart, and this is a shortcut for saying set the element class field to whatever is passed into the constructor. And because we have types, and types will flow through the system, DI is still able to pick up that element is a DOM.element. And the other nice thing that Dart gives you here is field getters and setters. So here we're saying anytime that the class field show is set, instead of storing that value somewhere, just add a class to the element. And if the value wasn't true, then remove that class. And this really gives you a very simple directive with very little overhead or boilerplate code. And so that I think is a big improvement in Dart compared to what we have in AngularJS today. The third thing that we got from Dart, and this is actually really cool. We spent a number of weeks wrapping our head around zones and trying to actually implement them, and we have them working, and we're really excited about them. So I'm not going to try to describe too much what a zone is. Brian Ford is going to come up after lunch, and he will do an awesome job. But it really gives us two things. The first is hooks into the execution flow, and the second is these hooks or the zones persist over persist over asynchronous calls, which means that or here I've tried to draw it out here. What it means. So here this is a VM turn that was started when the browser called our onClick handler, which happened to be registered inside of a NG-Click, which since NG-Click is running inside of Angular, we can say, hey, anytime that this callback is called, call our wrapper instead. And so the wrapper here is the red box, and so it starts, it does some bookkeeping, and then it runs the original callback. And so this could start as just running a NG-Click expression, but it could also be third-party code, and we don't really care anymore. And the third-party code could also create asynchronous callbacks that are then wrapped in our Angular callback wrapper. And so this is really exciting because at the end of every turn, specifically at the end of every callback wrapper, we can say, hey, we know something has changed in Angular, so let's call $digest on scope. And this means that we no longer need to put a scope.$apply in all of our directives, which isn't like that wasn't too painful for the core Angular code, but it's really painful when you're trying to take third-party libraries and bring them into Angular. But now that we can capture the execution, we no longer need the third-party libraries to be wrapped. And one really cool thing that has come out of this already is AngularDart has a routing library, but actually it doesn't, because we're just depending on a standard routing library that the Dart team, with the help of the green tea team, wrote and published to pub.dart, which is basically the Dart equivalent of Bower. And so we can just use this library, and there's no Angular bits in it. And so as the Dart ecosystem evolves, it's going to be much easier to have Angular play nicely with all of these other libraries, and that's really exciting. So one other thing that we're doing in AngularDart is and actually Dart is doing this as well. We've said Dart is for the modern web, and that doesn't just mean that we're supporting recent browsers, but it means that we're committing to web standards, even though those web standards might not be fully implemented everywhere yet. And so I guess our biggest success in that is using the shadow DOM, which is great. It's not in all of the browsers yet, but there are polyfills. It is missing one thing though. It doesn't have a good logo, which is really important when you're building slides. So I was a great picture of a puppy with a shadow dog. So anyways, here is a example of how we're using shadow DOM, and so I guess I should introduce the NG component, which is new to AngularDart. We don't really have the concept in AngularJS, but a component is really a directive that takes a template, and you say, well, wait a minute, like, can't all directives take templates? And no, they can't. That we don't have NG transclude in Dart. It was really nice because that code on the inside is incredibly hairy, and so not having to re-implement it for Dart was really awesome. Instead, we're just relying on shadow DOM, and so here we have a div that has this content marker, and so anytime that you would actually use this component, it's going to move the child elements into the div, but it's going to put them where the content marker is. So it's similar to transclude, but maybe much easier to understand. We hope. And so this is a good example of Angular saying, hey, we have some concepts, and how do we make them align with the web standards that we. So for old browsers, like, we really had to implement NG transclude because they didn't have the concept of shadow DOM or moving elements around. But now that browsers are catching up to this thinking, we can take advantage of that. And so AngularDart. So we started this effort in March. We aren't yet done. We're currently pushing towards 1.0, where we want AngularDart to be or to have feature parity with AngularJS, and we also want the second point I have there is protractor for Dart. And this is a interesting story in some of the pain in being on the bleeding edge of web standards, because so protractor is built on top of WebDriver, And WebDriver doesn't understand Shadow DOM. So these apps that we're building, we had to hack around that to be able to run end-to-end tests. But before we say this is 1.0, we want to solve that problem and actually ship a protractor that works well. Because we're not going to ship something that you can't test completely. That's not Angular. But you can already build apps, and the green tea team at Google has done an amazing job of proving this technology. That they've built an app that has over 200 components and directives. Like that's a really big application, and they were able to build it really quickly. And so that's something that we're really happy about. Angular 2. Now, so the title of this talk was Dart. It's Angular 2 TOO, but it's also Angular 2. And I think we've spent 9 months or so building this, but as we've been building it, we've really learned that this isn't about Dart. It's not just about taking what we have and putting it on a different language. The experience was really about how do you build scalable web apps, and sitting with a team that was building a really huge app taught us a lot, and then also being able to go to the Dart team and learn from them and see what their thinking is was really was a really big help in building something. And so you can take this back to JavaScript and say that that AngularJS isn't really about JavaScript either. That Angular is really about making the web a better platform, and we were able to take or to learn as a team like what Dart is doing, what they've been thinking about, and you've heard a lot of what I've talked about already in the other talks. That you've heard about annotations, you've heard about types, and so we've really been able to I think build a better AngularJS because we have AngularDart. And so I think that's really my closing thought is that this whole process was really exciting. Like building building a framework on top of a new language is fun, but it's also a great way to pick up new ideas and learn new approaches to problems. So thank you.